Hey, I'm Dr. Pilet, and I want to talk to you about our domestic violence victims program. We have quite a few women over the years that have come to us, court referrals or otherwise, as part of case plans, that have been victimized in their relationships. You know, there was a time when the state law mandated that batterers were to go to a 6-month program of domestic violence, psychoeducational, if you will, where we were working with the batterers to try to get them to work through nonviolent ways to have relationships. And to be honest with you, I think many of these programs are successful. However, the truth is that to every actively involved batterer, we have had experiences over the years where the victim has not received any type of mental health or counseling or mentoring, and yet the victim truly has obstacles in recovering and healing from some of the damage that's been done. So we've seen a shift in the county and the state to recognize that victims of domestic violence need help. They don't need help as a punishment, they need help as a tool that they can learn what it is to have healthy boundaries and what it is to establish themselves in a healthy relationship where they are no longer victimized emotionally, physically, financially, spiritually, socially. See, that definition of domestic violence victims includes much broader area than just hit, strike, or punch. The idea that women that are involved in a domestically violent relationship are involved on a level that's much broader. Well, yes, we all understand that when a person gets hit, that they are quote unquote a victim. But a lot of times people don't understand that broader perspective is that there's been other abuses that have occurred in that relationship. Emotional abuse, attacks on self-worth and self-esteem. You know, it breaks my heart. We've worked with a lot of women that have never been touched, physically never been touched, and therefore have never been able to be exposed to a program because their partners weren't arrested, but they had years of emotional abuse, self-esteem, self-worth, attacks on their character, put-downs. The idea that men sometimes find ways of victimizing women emotionally. There's the threat of financial isolation, especially when the woman is a stay-home mom and she's working to raise the family and be there as the house maker, homemaker. We find that a lot of women have been harassed because they've been forced to isolate from close friends and family. They've been challenged about their religious beliefs, about their spiritual feelings. They've been challenged about their fitness of a mother or fitness as a person that's worthy of being a biological mother. You know, when I add this into this equation of domestic violence, you start to see that, you know, hit, strike, or punch, you know, that's only a small component of the trauma that many women have gone through. And for what it's worth, probably greater than 50% of the women that we've worked with here have experienced domestic violence in the household as a child, whereas in the house or the home that they were raised in, they were observant of their mom and dad, physically, emotionally fighting each other. We've had cases where the ladies have spoken to me about where they attempted to break up their parents and they themselves were hit, strike, or punch, pushed away, traumatized. In several cases, I've had women that have spoken of their brothers and sisters who were bigger of age, and they attempted to be involved in trying to break up their parents from fighting, and they too were traumatized as the parents continued to fight and the children were battered. Okay, so what I'm concerned with is many times we have women that are victims later in life because they've married poorly, they've married because of a poor understanding of what a healthy relationship is, and in their poor understanding of a healthy relationship have continued this pattern by not seeing the signs that they should get out earlier. You know, living in a crazy household where there's this idea of emotional and physical abuse that goes on, especially when you're a child, is an awful thing, because now as you date later in life and you're exposed to someone dating you that has those similar characteristics, we can't differentiate the meaningful apology or the meaningful regret or the meaningful desire that I've crossed boundaries and I'm really going to do better, and that idea when a person seeks counseling, makes changes. What I'm saying is it was crazy in their childhood, now later in life they see it crazy again, and guess what? There's nothing unusual. It's the way I was raised. I'm used to it. So the victimization continues because the person has never been exposed to what a healthy, happy relationship is. And now they find themselves in a situation that's, if you will, a pattern or reflective of a continuation of some way that they've been raised. You know, it's interesting, a few years ago there was a book out about the alcoholic family, and in that book it talked about how some of those children that were exposed to alcoholism in the family, that later in life, as they went on to form their own adult life, well, that crazy pattern of behaviors that was back there in their childhood, that now they're in relationships where it's just as crazy, but they don't drink. You see, the trauma that they've experienced is such that they now have a boundary. I don't drink. But they were never exposed to a healthy relationship, and now here they are, not a drinking person, but they've again found themselves in family situations that were as crazy as the ones that they were raised in. And wow, how do you get out of this tangled mess? What do you do to move forward? And that's what our Victims program is about. We teach not only the 5 levels of relationships, as acquaintances become friends, friends become roommates, roommates become companions, and companions become lovers. We teach about the characteristics of healthy relationships: commitment, disclosure, values and beliefs, enhanced problem solving, collaborative lifestyle, positive sexuality, shared emotional identity, shared vision of the future, shared spiritual understanding. We teach all this to try to show that there's a much bigger picture here in celebrating a relationship and how to put together, if you will, healthy boundaries. I've published 2 books, Love Lost and Found, which was in 2003, 2010, How to Control Anger Before It Controls You. And as a backdrop, we'll be using all this information to bring together to get you into the right place where you now have the ability to differentiate between a healthy relationship and an unhealthy one, where you begin to restore your self-esteem and your self-worth. We begin to take on that role of, if you will, mother and wife, and you do it appropriately. You set boundaries, you understand what has to be done. And to be honest with you, our support for you is unconditional, and we will be there for you as you walk the walk to recover from this harmful effects of domestic violence. Again, I'm Dr. Pilet. I hope you check our program out. I think we can be there for you, and we can hopefully help you make a difference in your life. Thank you very much.